Hi, this is George Alger with the Two Green Energy Video Report, speaking with Craig Shields, the author of Renewable Energy, Facts and Fantasies. Welcome, Craig.
Hi, George. Happy to be here.
And, of course, Craig is also the editor of TwoGreenEnergy.com, and as part of TwoGreenEnergy.com is a funding liaison connecting businessmen or business persons, investors with funding sources.
Right.
And I have a question for you, and I want to make sure I get this correct, so let me just read it straight at you. Since strong business plans usually contemplate a large target market, how does one establish the potential of a market?
Well, first of all, let me say that is the what do you call it, the first part of it, is a word for that, is true. In other words, most good target business plans do contemplate a large target market. So in other words, do not create a business around something that isn't transformative if you have the opportunity to actually do something that is just amazing and that creates disruptive technology that is going to change the world. So that is true, and therefore it is important to be able to establish the size of the potential market. So I'll give you an example of exactly what we're talking about here. And by the way, the answer to the question is market research. It really has to do with getting that concept in front of a statistically valid sample of prospective customers for it and simply gauging their reaction to it. Now, that's not always possible, but in more cases than not, it is possible. And in fact, it's easy and it's fairly inexpensive. So I'll give you a good example of this. I was out at a prospect's business the other day that had to do with electric transportation. I can't tell you too much about it, but just imagine that this is a Class 3 truck. It's a very large truck that can be used to haul stuff around. It has a gross vehicle weight of, say, 10,000, 15,000 pounds. So here is an organization that's largely built around engineering. They've built a really cool piece of machinery. I took a test drive. I loved what I saw. And then we started talking about commercialization. Where is this thing going? And I said, well, the very first thing you ought to do on this thing is to get some people in here to take a peek at it. I had to make an appointment to drive halfway across the state to go see it. Don't keep this thing a secret. You implement a marketing plan that goes at real representatives of the target market. So so what I'm proposing to them is, let me set up appointments with hundreds of people from various target market segments. Public sector people, so city fleet managers, and private sector people with big fleets of trucks for their organizations. And let me get them in here and let me gauge their reaction to exactly what you just showed me. I know how much it costs. I know what it does. Now I've taken a test drive. I've looked under the hood. It has a unique, kind of proprietary drivetrain that is going to be safer and better and less expensive. There's a lot to like about this thing, but that's what I think. But I'm not buying one, so it doesn't matter what I think. So let's get some people in here whose opinions do matter. So that's essentially it. And here's another upside of this. When I do market research, I say, look, I am not trying to sell you anything. I couldn't sell you anything if I had to. I'm not authorized to do that. But I do want your opinion on this thing, and it will change the approach that we take from a marketing and sales perspective. So I've done this hundreds and hundreds of times over the last 30 years with groups of people for clients all over the world. I've never done this and had everybody say in response, oh, that's fine, here's my opinion, I'm leaving. I've never had 100% of the audience. I've always had at least some of these people say, I know you're not trying to sell me anything, and I appreciate that, and I trust you on that, but by the way, I want to buy this. Okay? So it's a magnificent process where everybody wins, everybody learns. It's something that I categorically recommend.
All right, and then part of that recommendation would be to have it done even before you're looking for funding. So what kind of costs would be involved to get this information to include in a business plan?
Well, if this needs to be done kind of in between funding levels. It's true, somebody had to build this prototype before we could have this conversation. In other words, I could do this test drive type of thing and so forth. So these people have, I don't know, a few $1 million sunk into this thing, which is necessary. But to answer your question, you know, I'm asking for, I can't remember, $90,000 or $100,000 to do this. It's not, which may sound like a lot of money, but when you consider the alternative of just kind of guessing at how to do this and not being able to go to a target audience of investors with confidence that says, look, I just showed this to 200 people. This is exactly what they said. That drives that's big stuff. That's an important point to be able to make. So that's about the size of it.
Good. All right. Any concluding points?
Well, just that market research, I think, kind of has a bad name insofar as it's often done incorrectly. It often doesn't. It puts words in people's mouths. It proves what it's already assumed. I'm sure you've been on the receiving end of some asinine market research survey in which you're asked to rate something on a scale from 1 to 10 that really has nothing to do with the actual your kind of core gut reaction to this thing, and certainly has nothing to do with would you really buy it. So a lot of this thing has nothing to do with overcoming the fact that people will tell you something in the context of a market research survey and then do something that's the direct opposite. So how do you get inside the head and the heart of these people? How do you really get them to engage? It's not like falling off a log. It's something that takes some level of experience and maturity to be able to do this effectively. Otherwise, it really is a waste of time.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Craig.
You bet. Happy to be here.
This is George Alger signing off from the 2 Green Energy Video Report. Until we see you next time.